Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Paperny with White Collar Advice, back with my friend and partner, Michael Santos. Michael, let's talk about the nonprofit's decision to reach out and share free resources with defense attorneys across the country.
Yeah, well, one of the first things I want to say to that is I want to thank you and White Collar Advice for sponsoring Prison Professors. All of the work that we do is made possible because you believe in us and you're part of this mission that we work to try and change the system and help people get the best possible outcome. We produce everything for free. And we believe that anybody could advance their life by working, but somebody has to do the work. And although I'm more focused on the macro side, White Collar Advice does sponsor that weekly webinar where you were interactive and they could ask questions. And I want to just take a moment just to thank you for that. But your question for me is about defense attorneys and what we Prison Professors wants to do with defense attorneys. Is that right?
If anyone goes through the .org site, there is a treasure trove of content, blogs, videos, courses, and I know you're sharing that not just with people in the system, but with defense attorneys. And I would love to learn more about why you're choosing to go through this national outreach of sharing all these free resources with lawyers and how it can help them.
I consider our nation's commitment to mass incarceration to be one of the great social injustices of our time. And it's a bigger problem than me. It's a bigger problem than you. It's a bigger problem than anybody who's facing a challenge. And our work really has to be as human beings, has to be to make the world a better place in some kind of way. What can we do? As an individual who served 26 years in prison, I think the system is ripe for reform and the right kind of reform. But to get that kind of reform, we need to connect with many different audiences. We need to connect with administrators who run prisons. We need to connect with legislators who provide funding for prisons. We need to connect with voters who may support or oppose laws that I value, which would reforms that I want to put forth, such as federal work release programs and pathways for people to earn freedom. We need to connect with certainly individuals who are going into the system, but also defense attorneys, because they are working to help preserve the rights and defend individuals who have been charged with a crime. Those people at that very early stage is when we need to get them involved in building a better path and demonstrating that they want to live as a law-abiding, contributing citizen and building mitigation strategies. And then we need to publish it so that anybody can see the outcome. By doing that, we can build a scalable model where we could perhaps take 10,000 people who didn't go through Prison Professors programming, take 10,000 people who did. Recidivism rates for the 10,000 people who did not go through it, we see what they are. It's north of 60%. 6 out of every 10 people who go into the system fail. And that causes real harm for society. But at Prison Professors, I believe that number is less than 5%. And so there's an enormous cost benefit if we could build this ecosystem. And I look at defense attorneys as being a key component of that solution.
It's important, I think, to note that of the resources, you're talking about sentencing and serving time productively in prison, but it's really about preparing for success after prison. And the earlier someone can begin to do that, the better. I'd love you can give maybe some more specifics of some of the resources you're sending out. Because like I've said, it's great there's so much content on .org, but some people have said I could be on here nonstop for 3 weeks and I won't even be 3% of the way through it.
Yeah, because every day we produce more content. And there's a reason for that. We make 3 promises at Prison Investors. 1, I'll never lie to you. 2, I'll never ask anybody to do anything I didn't do. And 3, I will never charge anybody a penny for anything on Prison Professors. But that person who said to you, there's too much information here, they're right. It's not easy to become up to speed and become literate with a system that is so anti-American. Prisons are as close to communism as we come in the United States. And what do I mean by that? Once you get into the system, in America, we like to celebrate the individual. The individual works hard, he prospers. The individual goes to school, he gets a better job. The individual gets a better job, he becomes a more contributing member of society. But in prison, none of that matters. Prisons would like to define you by the crime that you committed and nothing else. And our belief is that we need to change that mechanism so people can have a pathway to work to earn freedom through merit, through their efforts to reconcile with society and demonstrate that they want to live as good, law-abiding citizens. That's what I mean when I say you focus on the result. Prisons focus on the process. We lock somebody up, that's the process that puts them in. That's not the result that anybody wants. The result we want is for people to get out with their dignity intact and to be able to function in society as law-abiding, contributing citizens. If we had that result, it would be better for every American citizen. And that's the mission that drives me. So how do I get it to them? I publish content every day on Prison Professors because I believe people need to learn every day. That's what I did while I was in prison. And I am encouraging people, memorialize your journey. I can't authentically tell somebody to memorialize every decision he's making and what he's doing if I'm not holding myself accountable. So they can go to the Founders page, look at the accountability log and say, what am I doing every day? They could look at the blogs. Is there one being published every day? They could look at the YouTube channel. Is something going out every day? They can look at our podcast, our Instagram trade. They can look at all these efforts that we're making. And all of that is building that flywheel that we are going to develop. And over time will help everybody understand this is a far superior program to simply obliterating hope, putting people in a cage, separating families. We don't need that. All we've done is built an ecosystem that perpetuates intergenerational cycles of failure. And I publish so much because I'm deeply committed to changing that.
So you talk about publishing on .org. We haven't talked yet about Talent, another spot where not only you, but I think more than 1,000 people are memorializing their journey. Can you touch on Talent?
So the defense attorneys, what we want to give them is an asset. So they're focused on the evidence. They're focused on trying to look at the discovery and see, can the prosecutor prove this beyond a reasonable doubt? Lawyers are great analytical thinkers. But for the individual who's going through the crime or going through the process, it's life-altering. There's so much to learn. He's thinking about his kid's bar mitzvah. He's thinking about his kid's graduation. He's thinking about his career, his reputation, so many things. So on the .org site, we publish content to address those topics. And we have an Ask Me Anything concept where if they've got questions and they don't find it, they could fill out a form, ask me something, and we'll film a video together on what's shown there. So that is one aspect for the defense attorneys. But Prison Professors Talent is specifically for the individual. Think of it as a LinkedIn service for executives who are trying to broaden their network of support. But it's different for people in prison because prison separates you not only physically, but it separates you mentally from the fabric of the United States. At Prison Professors Talent, what we're trying to do is give you a platform to demonstrate that you are more than whatever prison number the system assigned to you. I was 163-77004, unless I did something about it. And I did something about it by memorializing my journey and creating a body of work that other people could use to assess whether I am a worthy candidate of relief or opportunities. And through that process of writing my biography, writing a journal every day, creating book reports, developing a release plan, I was able to build a support system that embraced me, and they effectively became a team of advocates for me and also my board of directors, and they would advise me on what I could do. And they helped me because they had a vested interest in helping me. The more I worked, the more they were willing to help. And so I want to give that same platform to as many people as possible.
So we have had on some of our weekly webinars existing case managers who have joined and contributed and discussed that while in prison, they reviewed some talent profiles of people who are arriving. So post-sentencing, it's also a great asset for this person to continue to write, and other stakeholders can see it as well. I'd love for you to discuss, go a little further on that, how a talent profile can continue to influence stakeholders like well past sentencing, a case manager, probation. You never know who, a funder, a friend, you never know who's going to see it.
That's such a great question, Justin, that it would be an injustice for me to try to squeeze that in a minute or two. Why don't we make the next video entirely about that subject?
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank everyone for watching. By the way, new webinar date, Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks.